It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. It's ZiFM Sport on a Friday. That means it's Fire Friday. Music will be lit. The stories will be lit. It's our preview show here on ZiFM Sport. And the team is here. Chris Midzi, Mike Madoda, Sean Tafirenyika, our producer, Alois Bunjira, the former Warriors striker, and I'm Barry Manandi. What do we have on the show today? Well, on the home front, as the Premier League nears resumption, Dynamos coach Tonderai Ndiraya's future and that of his lieutenants, Naisim Jekel and Gift Muzadzi, is uncertain as the trio is yet to be offered new contracts. We'll be hearing the thoughts of the team on that. And of course, they open up the season with that Independence Trophy against Highlanders. Will they be in the right frame of mind? We'll hear the thoughts of the ZiFM Sport team. There's also international sports news where former India wicketkeeper Deep Dasgupta feels that season 2021 of the Indian Premier League, the IPL, is going to be the most competitive edition in the history of the tournament because of the well-balanced sides that will be competing in it this year.
We'll also have more international sports news for you when we take you around the world in 60, starting off in Georgia, where Justin Rose delivered a remarkable burst of scoring to recover from a slow start and open up a 4-shot lead after the opening round of the Masters at Augusta. In California, LA Lakers star Lebron James has hinted that he's close to returning from injury alongside his partner in crime, Anthony Davis, and basketball pundits predict the pair could be available for this weekend's blockbuster clash against the Brooklyn Nets. And we'll touch down in Wellington, where All Blacks hooker Dane Coles said the important thing is for the Hurricanes to remain positive as they're desperate for a win to keep them in contact with opposing sides ahead of their tough Super Rugby Aotearoa contest against the Crusaders on Sunday.
We'll then have our play of the day as we get the party started right here on your favorite sports show. And it's Party Friday, or is it Fire Friday? And then we're straight into the beautiful game. We'll begin with a wrap of the Europa League quarterfinals, which were on last night. And Mikel Arteta says Arsenal did not switch off when conceding a late equalizer against Slavia Prague, but made a bad decision in giving away the corner beforehand. We'll then go to Spain. It's the biggest game in world football. El Clasico. It's Real Madrid versus Barcelona in what could effectively be the title decider in La Liga. We'll also get into the Premier League where Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur face a crunch match in their top four hopes when Manchester United arrive in North London on a Sunday. There's also plenty of action in Germany's Bundesliga, Serie A, Ligue 1, as well as the CAF Champions League.
It's time for our power play, but earlier today we received the sad news that Prince Philip has died at the age of 99. He is, of course, Queen Elizabeth II's husband, and we commiserate with the British family, but also celebrate his life. Here's DJ Zintle. It's featuring Loiso. It's called Indlovu. And, of course, an elephant has fallen.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis. From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Why don't you get in touch with us on social media at ZiFM Sport? We're on all platforms for your convenience. So the one that you love, the one that you like, the one you like interacting with, pick that one and look for at ZiFM Sport and pop onto the others if you feel the fancy. Also, we're there in our individual capacities at Mike Madoda, at Chris Midzi, at Gazaman14 for Alois, at Shonta Firinika for our producer, and at Barry Manandi for me. Right, we've got that Dynamo story that we're talking about now. As the Premier League nears resumption, Dynamo's coach Tonderai Ndiraya's future and that of his lieutenants, Nyson Mchekela and Gift Muzadzi, is uncertain as the trio is yet to be offered new contracts. Sources close to the developments say that the Dimbare executives' action is frustrating their technical department as they dither on offering the new contracts. Now, the question that we have to ask here, Alois, is whether this is just a delay administratively or whether the executive is trying to send a message to the three.
Yeah, I don't know what to say really, because if they want to convey a message to the technical department, they can just sit and know that it's the team. They can just sit and tell them exactly what they are feeling, what they want. Why would they act on it? They must just try to talk to the guys. So I don't know. We have been talking about soccer resuming, the resumption of football. But while we were busy doing that, other clubs didn't have contracts with their technical departments. I don't know. So what were we doing all through this period that we were not playing football? I don't know, because we were clamoring for football to come back. Dynamos is playing against the Highlanders in the Independence Cup. Technical department, they don't have contract. What more players if the technical department don't have contract? Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah, Barry.
It's a tough one, Alois, and the confusion continues to reign because, in truth, Mike, if you think about it, contracts, and you have a tracker, hopefully, that tracks when contracts are supposed to expire, and you should commence discussions before those contracts run out so that you're able to extend them in a normal world. So this is a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, it's an anomaly, Barry, because we are not a normal world. So we don't exactly adhere to global best practice. I love the fact that you mentioned that in a normal world. So what happens in Zimbabwe football is that contracts are allowed to run out. And there's usually a lot of politicking that's going on behind the scenes, because you just look at the situation which Mchekela and Muzadzi find themselves in. You've got to ask yourself what Dynamos is thinking. Is there someone maybe behind the scenes who's angling for their job? Is the executive perhaps feeling that that team is not the best to take Dynamos forward with all the pieces that they've tried to put together over the last 12 months, the players that have come in, some of the new signings? Maybe there might be some dithering in the executive as far as that is concerned, and they might just be wanting these contracts to run out so that they can let these guys go off without any legal ramifications. So it looks like there's some second guessing within the Dynamos executive as far as perhaps the quality of Tonderai Ndiraya, Mchekela and Muzadzi are concerned.
Now, Chris, if we're making those assumptions, you got to think to yourself that the guys in question, Checkmaster, Umbro, and of course Stanza, must be thinking exactly the same thing, that these guys don't want it. We're not wanted here. And that makes the preparations that they're undergoing, and we understand that they've gone through their COVID testing and want to do a bit of vaccination. They were supposed to do some vaccination today in preparation for that Independence Cup. It's hardly the sort of footing that you want to be on, facing your perennial rival Highlanders at the National Sports Stadium on the 18th of April.
Yeah, definitely not setting themselves up on a good footing. I think when it comes to just having a team, working with the team, basic team dynamics, one of the things you need to make sure is that everyone on the team needs to feel valued, and that starts with your coaching staff. Your coaching staff need to feel valued for them to do the best possible work. Now, if there's uncertainty, wherever you'll find uncertainty, you don't have people performing at their absolute best. And that's my worry when it comes to this, is the uncertainty doesn't bode well, especially from a planning perspective. Right now, the coaches need to be making plans. They need to be down doing a lot of work, and if they don't have contracts, the likelihood is these men are probably not putting in that amount of work that they should be to get the team ready for the season.
And Barry, and the other issue could be, remember the issue is the contracts are rolling over. Could it be the case that they were like, okay, they're expiring in December and we got the arrangement that contracts are rolling over? I've argued about that so many times, but some clubs are actually adamant that contracts aipera muna 2020 muna December, they are rolling over into 2021. And there are clubs that are adamant and they are fighting, even players when they go out for other contracts with other clubs, they are fighting it.
Yeah, you might be onto something here, Alois, but you know what? The antithesis or the argument against that is that Dynamos in the closed period, in the COVID period, has been signing players from other clubs. So they can't be then insistent that contracts are just being rolled over. They signed highly rated former Ngezi Platinum Stars defender Frank Makarati during this closed period. So consequently, they are arguing and self-defeating their argument to say that contracts are rolling over. Simply extend these guys' contracts, get some stability going, and make sure that the club is ready for the new season. And that seems to be what Dynamos is struggling to do. And yet, we were saying, Mike, a lot of good things about Dynamos in their recruitment, in their sponsorship, in the direction the club was going there, even their technical partnership with Lux. We thought to ourselves, the club is heading in the right direction, and then this comes up.
Yeah, and then this comes up, but it's the nature of the beast, though, Barry. Dynamos will always be Dynamos, and Dynamos will always have different centers of power. It will always have different sources of influence, and those centers will always try and push their agenda. It was like so during the days of Callisto Pasua. Callisto Pasua won 4 back-to-back titles, but still, his job was never really secure. And so that's the nature of the beast. And I think Tonderai Ndiraya, he's got to show the character, the mental fortitude that is required to be a coach at Dynamos. You've got to be performing not just on the field of play, not just performing in terms of the technical and the tactical expectations from you, but you've also got to be able to manage the politics. It's important at institutions like Dynamos, like Highlanders. You've got to manage the politics. If you don't manage the politics, you could find yourself kicked onto the curb, even with a glamorous and glorious CV.
That's why they say if you're coaching at any one of those two clubs, you need a strong spine and a thick skin. And hopefully Tonderai Ndiraya and his backroom staff certainly have that. And if you look at the squad that has been assembled by Dynamos, they had actually given themselves a chance. When you look at names like I mentioned Frank Makarati, Chris, you got your Patson Jaurez, who is one of the 2 players who haven't renewed their contracts just yet. Midfielder God knows Murira also hasn't renewed his contract, but the others, they've managed to secure your Juan Mutudza, exciting midfielder, Barnabas Bushunje, a player that I know Alois loves, Tanaka Chidoba. This is a team that should be doing and competing for honors, and hopefully the executive can give this team the stability to compete.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Is we've had previous seasons where Dynamos looks good, they're playing good football, they've got everything in order, but something happens in terms of politics, in terms of office arrangements and what's going on there, and it comes down onto the field, and then we see them fall apart throughout this as the season goes on. So hopefully that's not the case this time, because they've got a good sponsor on board, they've got a good team, that the names that you highlighted that have already signed on, and if they add that coaching staff, then Dynamos is definitely a good outfit and one to look out for and one that can challenge. But it's all about keeping the off-field politics to a bare minimum in order to keep the squad playing well, in order to keep the machine ticking.
Yeah, certainly. You look at everything that was coming out of the Dynamos camp under the tutelage of Executive Chairman Isaiah Mfurutsa. It was all positive in the closed period. You look at the announcement of sponsorships, like you were mentioning, Chris, the players that they signed, the bringing on board of Yvonne Mangunda as their marketing and media person. It was all positive as we headed in the right direction. Add to that, you like the likes of Sylvester Apia, Byron Madzokere, David Chimanjira, all signing for the Glamour Boys. It looked like it was headed in the right direction. Alois Bunjira, when you look at that, the signings that Dynamos has made, when you look at, notwithstanding anything else, is this a Dynamo side that you can foresee certainly battling for honors?
Yeah, but when you look at the players, the caliber of players that they have signed, you can actually say so, but then you need to knit those players into a machine. Like Chris said, it needs to tick. So sometimes we just look at those names, but we want to see how they play, what system they are going to play. Sometimes we just bring in the players, but probably 2-3 of the players are playing in the same position. You don't know what to do with them. So we would want to see how they're going to cope. But when you read the names, the names sound good. They sound really good. It's a team that can actually challenge. But now the challenge is on the technical team to actually knead that team into a very good machine. But now is the team that is supposed to knead that team into a good machine is the one that is disgruntled. So it's kind of like a problem. But they have good players. They have signed good players. I think the recruitment was very good.
Indeed, the recruitment team at Dynamos has done a pretty bang-on job. If you want a name to watch and you're a Dynamos fan, just look out for Tanaka Chidoba. What an exciting player. He is tricky, he's inventive, and he's the sort of player that Dynamos has been crying out for. Think about something akin to Denver Mukamba, if you will. So Dynamos needs to clean their house. They've got a game on the 18th of April. That's not changing. Who will be in the dugout? Hopefully it'll still be Stanza, Checkmaster, and Umbro. If you want the government names, Tonderai Ndiraya, Nyson Muchekela, and Gift Muzadzi.
How is it, guys? Elvis Tibola Pomba Moyo, WPF.
This is the bomb.
All Africa heavyweight champion 2-time. You are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Right, let's get you up to date with everything happening as far as local sport is concerned, starting with boxing. Well, World Boxing Organization Africa welterweight champion Brendan Boyka Dennis is bullish ahead of his high-stakes 9-title fight against Ahmed Samir Dawan in Dubai, United Arab Emirates tomorrow. Not only is Dennis relishing his maiden match outside Africa, but a win against the rising Afghan boxer will secure him a ticket into a bigger fight in the United States in July. In judo news, the Judo Association of Zimbabwe remains hopeful of making the Tokyo 2020 Olympics when Christy Rose Pretorius takes part at the Africa Championship next month in Morocco. The competition is slated for the 22nd of May, and Zimbabwe will be pinning their hopes on the United Kingdom-based athlete who has had some promising performances in the past. Judo is one of the several sport codes that have been targeted for qualification to the rescheduled Tokyo Games. And we wrap it up with a bit of an action diary for cricket fans. Zimbabwe's top provincial sides will battle for honours in the T20 domestic competition, which gets underway at Harare Sports Club tomorrow. The first day of the competition will see the Mountaineers and Eagles clashing in the morning fixture before Tuskers and Rhinos Longhorns in the afternoon game. Then on Sunday, Eagles will take on Tuskers in the first game of the day before the Rhinos entertain the Southern Rocks in the afternoon. The morning matches are scheduled to start at 10 a.m. sharp, and the first ball will be bowled in the afternoon games at 2 p.m.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Don't forget, the biggest game in the world is on this weekend. It's El Clasico. It's Real Madrid who are hosting Barcelona, and that game could potentially decide who goes on to win La Liga in season 2020-2021, especially with Atletico Madrid beginning to slip up. Before we get there, though, we got a bit of cricket to talk about. The IPL is beginning. This is international sports news, and former India wicketkeeper Deep Das Gupta feels that season 2021 of the Indian Premier League, the IPL, is going to be the most competitive edition in the history of the tournament because of the well-balanced sides that will be competing in it this year. The new season is going to be a bit different from the past, as none of the teams will be able to enjoy home advantage due to the new rules put in place because of the coronavirus pandemic. All the matches will be played at neutral venues across 6 cities: Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, as well as Kolkata. Barry, let's start off, and I think the logical takeoff has got to be the Mumbai Indians. They are the defending champions. They are the best side in the eyes of many people, and they will certainly start this edition as firm favorites.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's what you mentioned about the sides having balance. I think is exemplified the most in the Mumbai Indians. They don't seem to have any sort of point of weakness. They can attack you with pace bowling if they need to with Trent Bolt. They can spin you out of control if they need to, and then with the bat they can get the runs that they need. They're ably led, of course, by coach Mahela Jayawardena, and he has put together a side that I think has some coaches outside of India salivating and wishing they could coach a side led by Rohit Sharma as the captain. And then look at the names that are there: Kieron Pollard, Quinton de Kock. There's runs all over the place, as well as very good balance.
Well, let's hear from cricket pundit Raunak Kapoor, who says that the Mumbai Indians have assembled an impressive side yet again.
Mumbai Indians, it's a team that could have easily been fielded today if the IPL were to happen, even without any acquisitions at the auction. But they did leave a little bit of vulnerability in letting go of all their fast bowlers. Coulter-Nile, McClanagan, Malinga is, of course, not part of the scheme of things, and James Pattinson. But they have brought Nathan Coulter-Nile back at a lesser price. They also went for Adam Milne, who's been part of their setup in the past. Jimmy Neesham comes in towards the end of that auction. You think is cover for Kieron Pollard. Other than that, they've picked up Marco Jansen from South Africa, Piyush Chawla early on to perhaps challenge Rahul Chair for that starting leg spinner spot. And some local names, Yudhvir Charak and Arjun Tendulkar was someone we did think would be picked up by the Mumbai Indians. He has been part of their setup in terms of net bowlers in the past.
It's a very impressive side, and Barry has reeled off some of the names. Quinton de Kock as well, the Proteas wicket-keeper batsman. He is in the mix, as is Trent Bolt. Those would certainly be two foreigners that we expect to actually fill up the foreign quota in the Mumbai Indians. And then you talk about the power of Hardik Pandya with the bat lower down in the middle order to finish games. And then, of course, Jasprit Bumrah to get the wickets. There will be the team to beat. Now, Chris, let's talk about the Delhi Capitals. They also wear blue, not with gold, but with the touch of red. And Ricky Ponting is their coach. And this is a side that's been very impressive, especially over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, definitely very impressive. And what I like about this team is that they look to be a good team for emerging talent. You look at a lot of the youngsters they have in the team, including Rishabh Pant. And what's happening is that these players are benefiting from having a lot of mentorship, a lot of coaching from Ricky Ponting. And also, if you take a look at some of that Australian influence as well from players like Steve Smith, this team definitely looks like they've got all of the ingredients to be a good force in this season. They've got their wicket-taking fast bowlers, some wily spinners, abundance of power hitters. So they're definitely primed for another run at the title.
Yeah, run at the title, Barry. And if you take a look at Hakiso Rabada, the South African, he did very well, especially at the beginning, should I say, maybe for about 90% of last season's tournament. He was one of the leading bowlers. He seemed to tire a bit. I think the burden of bowling game after game and of carrying the team from a bowling perspective got to him. But he will certainly be one of the players that they look to.
Yeah, he'll certainly be one of the KG in your side any day of the week. Is going to be a player that you look to get breakthroughs at important moments in the game, as well as keep the pressure on the batsman. So I think he's a great asset to have in the Delhi Capitals arsenal. I'm also going to add in there Anrik Nokia. He's a player out of South Africa who has, for the Proteas, begun to show the right sort of stuff that you need to prosper in an international career. And let's see if he can do it in the IPL as well, in the shorter format. Certainly when he puts on the colours of the Proteas with white ball cricket, he has shown that he's got some ability.
Well, let's go to the gold of Chennai Super Kings, or is it yellow? They're led by MS Dhoni, their captain. Many people think he's more than just a captain. He's probably the most influential figure in that franchise. Should he even still be playing, Chris? This is a guy that many people feel, listen, he's long in the tooth now, no longer as effective as he was, say, 5 or so seasons ago.
Yeah, and it's exemplified by the fact that every season we see less and less of an impact for him. And at some stage, you need to be very wary of the fact that in as much as you need players with experience, sometimes that experience is no longer as valuable. It's not experience anymore. These are really just old players who are still in the team.
Can they challenge Barry? Because when I take a look at Dwayne Bravo, Faf du Plessis, Imran Tahir. Those are some of the foreign players. And then you've got, of course, the star Indian players like Ambati Rayudu, Pujara, Jadeja. Yes, good players, but do they have that X factor that they had 6-7 ago? Because 6-7 seasons ago, they seem to be a team that mirrors their captain in that they just don't have that spark anymore.
Yeah, they're a historical franchise, if I can say that, of such a young tournament like the IPL. Chennai Super Kings have, listen, they're my team. I've always loved the Chennai Super Kings, but I came to a realization in last year's tournament that perhaps the time is out. And then what makes me struggle even more as a fan and a pundit is the fact that the recruitment has also gone for experience. You look at Moeen Ali, Cheteshwar Pujara, Robin Uthappa. That's even more, adding more experience to the side. I'm not sure that's what you want, because when you look at what's happening at the other franchises, they're bringing young, exciting, energetic talent. Now, is experience going to trump that energy? Is experience going to trump the ability to call upon a KG, for instance, Kagiso Rabada, as opposed to a Dwayne Bravo? It's a little bit difficult for me to see.
Well, let's talk about recruitment and stay on that theme, Chris, and go to the Royal Challengers Bangalore. So we've been talking about a former Indian captain in MS Dhoni. Let's go to the present Indian captain in Virat Kohli. And when you take a look at his recruitment, listen, he was just looking at Australia and New Zealand as far as his foreign quota was concerned. And a bit surprising that even some of his India teammates, you can't find anyone there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange recruitment that took place there. Very Australian, New Zealand, like you mentioned. And it's just that you would be surprised that the national team captain would lean so heavily on foreign talent. You take a look at that list of players: Glenn Maxwell, Australia; Adam Zampa, Australia; Dan Christian, Australia; Daniel Sams, Australia; Kane Richardson, Australia; Kylie Jamieson, New Zealand; Finn Allen, New Zealand. So it's just interesting. And when you take a look at the Indian players, no one really stands out, and no one is in and around the Indian national team when you take a look, and it's only Chahal who's there. So it's a bit of an interesting recruitment, almost like he doesn't necessarily trust his fellow players.
Yeah, very interesting one. And remember, they have the X factor, that is AB de Villiers. But every time we get to the IPL, we are always left wondering what type of player he is. Is he still the same AB de Villiers? Because he seems to specialize in only this tournament. And the last time he played was several months ago. And of course, the other teams that will be making up the competition will have the Sunrisers Hyderabad. They are a good side. If you're looking for a dark horse, that opening combination at the top of Jason Roy, Johnny Burstow and David Warner, if they click, if they fire, they can take the game away from you very quickly. And then they've got the finishing power and the bowling ability of Jason Holder from the West Indies in that side. The Rajasthan Royals, yes, they got some good players: Ben Stokes, Josh Butler, Jofra Archer, so they're leaning very heavily on English talent in that team. The Punjab Kings, they've got a team, but my goodness, if they have to challenge this team, they will be playing out of their skin. Kolkata Knight Riders, captained by Owen Morgan. Andre Russell, the Mercurial West Indies player, is there, as is Pat Cummins, the Australian. Ben Cutting, the Australian. Lots of Aussie interest in the IPL. Guys, I've got to ask you this. You've got to also consider the fact that we mentioned at the very top that there is no home advantage, okay? So neutral grounds, neutral stadiums, you can't get your curator to prepare a pitch that you like. You know, it's going to be the same for everyone. Who do you pick as the two most outstanding side? Who do you think is going to win it?
I'm going to go with top two sides, Mumbai Indians, and my favorites, of course, Delhi Capitals. I think obviously former champions, and also just that burst of youth in that team, I think is able to finish out this tournament on the top.
Chris has gone blueberry. Obviously, you're going to go with Chennai Super Kings.
Obviously. I have to.
Which is the other side? Which is the other side?
That's my heart, and then my head tells me Mumbai Indians. I think, look, they're going to go back to back.
back-to-back for the Mumbai Indians, okay? I think it's very difficult to argue against the Mumbai Indians, but I am just to go and throw in there, I'm going to go with Virat Kohli and his band of foreign players. I think the Royal Challengers Bangalore this time. I mean, if you consider, if they can get performances out of AB de Villiers and Glenn Maxwell, I think they might just have too much firepower for any other side in the competition. It's the most exciting T20 competition in the world. It's the IPL. It's already underway. The defending champions, the Mumbai Indians, are currently locking horns with the Royal Challengers of Bangalore. And then 2 games over the weekend, the Chennai Super Kings versus the Delhi Capitals. And it's the Sunrisers Hyderabad taking on the Kolkata Knight Riders.
Hi, my name's Ryan Cairns, Sunshine Tour professional golfer, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in Georgia, where Justin Rose delivered a remarkable burst of scoring to recover from a slow start and open up a 4-shot lead after the opening round of the Masters at Augusta. Rose, the 2-time runner-up at the Masters, bounced back from being 2 over par after 7 holes to fire an eagle and 7 birdies in challenging conditions to card a 7 under 65. Action at the Masters continues throughout the weekend. We'll head over to California, where LA Lakers star player Lebron James has hinted that he's close to returning from injury alongside his partner in crime, Anthony Davis. And basketball pundits predict the pair could be available for this weekend's blockbuster clash against the Brooklyn Nets. LeBron has been out since suffering a high ankle sprain against the Atlanta Hawks on the 21st of March, while Davis has been out since the middle of February after sustaining a calf strain and re-aggravation of his right Achilles tendon. And we'll touch down in Wellington, where All Blacks hooker Dane Cole said the most important thing is for the Hurricanes to remain positive as they're desperate for a win to keep them in contact with opposing sides ahead of their tough Super Rugby Aotearoa contest against the Crusaders on Sunday. In tomorrow morning's action, the Highlanders take on the Chiefs.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. Z. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's start our wrap of the beautiful game with the Europa quarterfinals roundup. Now, Mikel Arteta says Arsenal did not switch off when conceding a late equalizer against Slavia Prague, but made a bad decision in giving away the corner beforehand. The second leg in Prague takes place next Thursday, and Gunners boss Mikel Arteta, despite his sides conceding so late, still believes they'll progress to the semi-finals. Alois, you got to say to yourself that Arsenal firstly got the goal that they needed late and then conceded late. So all the drama happened late in that game, ending 1-1, but it's advantage Slavia Prague because they've got the away goal.
Yeah, it's obviously advantage Slavia Prague, but Arsenal, they've got the ammunition, they've got the ability to actually go out there and overturn the result, because look at it this way. These are games that are being played without fans. So we have always said that sometimes this home ground advantages are thrown out of the window. But like you say, drama at the end, it was actually good. You know, sometimes people would be like, I know when I'm going to sleep. Also, go time, with go 2 goals, go pay 0, whatever. Well, these games are starting late. But it was actually quite a very good watch. You know, it was a good match, and that 1-1 scoreline actually makes it for a very interesting match in the return leg as well, because normally those are matches that you can say I can skip, you know, those results. But because it's evenly poised like that, you would just want to watch it for the excitement and the drama.
Yeah, I was particularly concerned, Barry, by the fact that Arsenal failed to create any meaningful chances. And I think though they dominated play, they dominated possession, but in terms of actually creating those chances, Slavia Prague was actually creating as much as Arsenal was creating. So that's one thing that Arteta needs to work on. That, okay, you know what, have more of the ball, pass it around more, but get into the box more and create the shooting opportunities.
Create chances and take those chances are the simple marching orders for the Gunners as they go into that second leg that takes place in Prague next Thursday. Let's give you last night's results in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Villarreal winning away at Dynamo Zagreb 1-0. Roma with an away win at Ajax 2-1. It ended in favor of Roma. We told you about the Arsenal result 1-0 with Slavia Prague. And then Manchester United winning 2-0 over Granada in Spain. Two crucial away goals for the Red Devils.
We begin our weekend preview in Spain, and it's the biggest game in world football. It's on in the Spanish capital tomorrow as Real welcome Barca for the latest edition of El Clasico. Los Blancos are currently third in Spain's top flight, 2 points behind second-placed Barcelona, who now trail leaders Atletico by just a single point with 9 games left. Football pundit Alejandro Moreno believes Barcelona are the favorites heading into this tie.
Let's not forget the perspective of Atletico Madrid, who are sitting on the sidelines with pom-poms cheering hard, and I mean really hard, for a draw. And in worst case scenario, for Real Madrid to win instead of Barcelona. Now, putting Atletico Madrid to the side because they have their own issues, let's look at Real Madrid and Barcelona. Real Madrid now coming after this very impressive performance against Liverpool, but a performance in which they left a lot of legs on the field, and towards the end of that match, it felt like Real Madrid, those old legs were getting a little tired, and now they have to look forward to the second leg against Liverpool. And so what happens in the middle of it all? Well, they have to play El Clasico, and a Clasico that matters. As for Barcelona, they beat Valladolid. Yeah, more stressful than it needed to be. This was on Monday. So on pure mathematics, you're looking at Barcelona with 2 extra days of rest than Real Madrid. And then they don't have to concern themselves with a second leg of whatever. And so, to me, when I think of who has the advantage coming into this game and who has the momentum, even though both teams come from wins, it has to be Barcelona, because indeed they'll have fresher legs. It's a team that now seems to be playing with a purpose in La Liga, while Real Madrid does not have the depth, and they do have injuries. They have COVID situation. One of the big questions for Real Madrid has been that depth. That depth will be tested this weekend. I think it's Barcelona. They win it 2-1 at Real Madrid.
I don't think many people, Chris, would have said this just 6 months ago when Barcelona looked like they were floundering on choppy waters, and it's testament to the good job done by Ronald Koeman that they actually get into this game in Madrid as the favorites to win it.
Yeah, when you take a look at 6 months ago, you wouldn't have thought this. I think they managed to pick up their form around November. And from November up until now, they've been playing some good football. It's been good to see Barcelona on a winning streak. And going into this against a Real Madrid, who's, to be quite honest, has been struggling a little bit, then they definitely are going into this on a good footing as firm favorites.
Alois, Barcelona's statistics for 2021 in La Liga are very impressive. In fact, they are the only side in European top-flight football, that's the top-flight leagues, that hasn't lost a league game in 2021.
Yeah, it's actually impressive. It's impressive, Mike. I was actually thinking about it, that, you know what, this is a hallmark of a good coach. You arrive, you start playing around with your players. There were a lot of people that were already doubting Ronald Koeman when Barcelona were floundering. But look at him now. He was putting his pieces together, and now he found consistency, and the team is doing well. They haven't lost a match in 2021, and the way they were playing, you remember a few matches ago I already predicted that they were going to win the league. Even when they were still, I think they were 7 points behind Atletico Madrid. I actually saw this team, that the consistency that they had hit. Atletico Madrid were going to drop points, but Barcelona didn't look like they were dropping points. He has built a solid team. They are consistent. They are winning matches, and it doesn't look that they are dropping any points anytime soon. They are facing a Real Madrid that I don't think are better than Barcelona at the moment, and I agree that Barcelona are actually the favorites to win this one.
Ordinarily, Barry, heading into El Clasico, would have been talking about the attacking riches that both teams have. But I think the biggest talking point is probably in defense. First of all, from the perspective that both teams are likely to have a number of players missing. That's in the case of Real Madrid, who will be without Sergio Ramos and the likes of Dani Carvajal. And then Barcelona, who have been experimental in their approach and in their setup defensively.
Yes, and you look at it, he's gone with Ronald Koeman, that is. He's gone in recent games with Munguetha, Frankie de Jong and Clement Longley as his back three. A back three we're not used to seeing at Barcelona, because we're used to seeing a back four that's marshaled by Gerard Piqué. Gerard Piqué himself has just come off a bit of a layoff and has made the matchday squad. We don't know whether he's going to start. If he starts, does he stick with the back three? Then if we switch over to the merengues, the whites, you look at Sergio Ramos missing in that defense. That's a big miss. It's not just in defense, because Sergio Ramos contributes all over the field. He is their leader in terms of organization and geeing up the troops, but also at set pieces, he's an aerial threat, and then he's the designated penalty kick taker. So you're removing all of those facets out of Real Madrid. Can they survive without? Shucks, remains to be seen, but I doubt.
Chris, a big talking point for El Clasico over the last decade and some years is Lionel Messi. He's got yet another opportunity to add pain to Real Madrid, especially in Madrid. It's a place where he actually does very well, Lionel Messi. He tends to play very well at the Santiago Bernabeu. Well, this time they're playing, of course, not at their normal stadium. They're playing, of course, at their training ground. Yeah. But he traditionally plays well in Madrid.
He traditionally plays well in Madrid, and that's what I think gives the overall spectacle that much more weight. It's a spectacle everyone wants to watch, to see how he performs. And if he does well, as he usually does, Barcelona, as firm favorites, definitely going to be taking it home.
Yeah, and of course, Benzema will say that if I've got anything to do with it, I can match Lionel Messi goal for goal. Just before we get your predictions, guys, Alois, I want to hear from you, because the one area where Real Madrid seems to have an advantage is central midfield. If you take a look at that combination of Casemiro, Toni Kroos, and Modric, they have an edge just in terms of finesse and experience over Barcelona.
Yeah, I think that's where they've got a very big advantage, Mike, because those guys, when they are playing, they look like they are a solid unit. You know, they can also take advantage as well as going forward, because Luka Modric is actually a very good player going forward. I think that's where, if they want to win this match, they need to concentrate on playing the ball through the middle. They can't go wide. They need to play through the middle, where they've got the advantage. I don't know if Barcelona are going to allow them to do that, because obviously they know that is the biggest threat. That is where Real Madrid has got the strength. We'll just have to wait and see. But you're very right. This is the strongest department for Real Madrid. Seasoned players, accomplished players, and players that can actually win matches for the team.
Okay, guys, one name. Who's winning El Clasico? Barry.
Barcelona.
Scoreline?
Scoreline is going to be, I think, 2-1.
2-1. Chris?
Same as Barry.
Same as Barry. And Alois?
I'll give it 2-0 to Barcelona.
2-0 to Barcelona. So no one picking Real Madrid. My goodness, how things have changed. No one would have picked Barcelona 6 months ago, but they look like they've turned a corner, and Ronald Koeman is doing a good job out in Catalonia. The rest of your La Liga weekend fixtures: Huesca take on Elche, Getafe versus Cadiz, Athletic Club of Bilbao entertain Alaves at St. Mames, Eibar host Levante, Osasuna make the trip out to Villarreal, Valencia will entertain Real Sociedad at La Mestalla, Real Valladolid versus Granada, Atletico Madrid have a tricky encounter versus a Real Betis that's capable of beating even the best side. But all eyes will be on the Estadio Alfonso Di Stefano, where Real Madrid entertain Barcelona.
Let's take you into England now. Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur side face a crunch match in their top four hopes when Manchester United arrive in North London on Sunday. Last weekend brought the disappointment of a late Newcastle United equaliser at St James's Park, which prevented Spurs from temporarily taking their place in the top four ahead of West Ham's win at Wolves. Barry, you take a look at this match. Absolute must-win for Tottenham Hotspur, the team, but also for Jose Mourinho, who's coming under increasing scrutiny.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho is under massive scrutiny. You look at the results that he's been getting lately. There's a lot of questions being asked about his mojo, his ability to deliver on the mandate that he was given when he arrived at Tottenham Hotspur. Because when Daniel Levy brought him in, he was basically saying to the Spurs faithful, let's give up the pretty patterns, the exciting attacking football, and become pragmatic, but it's going to deliver silverware. Will that silverware be delivered under Mourinho? You doubt it, because you look at now, he's out of the Europa League. He's teetering on the brink in every competition, apart from the Carabao, where he's in the final. So you got to think to yourself that Daniel Levy might have a decision to make if this result goes the wrong way.
Let's take a look at the rest of your Premier League fixtures this weekend. Fulham takes on Wolves. Manchester City will be up against Leeds United. Liverpool bouncing back versus Aston Villa. Crystal Palace will be up against Chelsea. Burnley against Newcastle. West Ham versus Leicester City. Sheffield United versus Arsenal. And that big one, like we just talked about, Tottenham versus Manchester United.
All right, let's round up some of the key fixtures out of Europe, starting in Germany, where Eintracht Frankfurt will take on Wolfsburg. It's Bayern Munich entertaining Union Berlin. Stuttgart will be taking on Borussia Dortmund. In Italy, Parma entertain AC Milan. League-leading Inter Milan take on Cagliari, while Juventus entertain Genoa. It's Fiorentina versus Atalanta. In Ligue 1, Metz versus Lille. Strasbourg versus Paris Saint-Germain. It's Nice who will take on Reims, while Lyon take on Angers. On to Africa CAF Champions League action and tonight, Al Ahly take on Simba and AS Vito Club take on El Merreikh. That action, of course, out of Group A. Out of Group D, it is Zamalek taking on Tunget tomorrow, and Esperance take on MC Alger. The late kickoffs tomorrow are out of Group C, and it's Wydad Casablanca taking on Petro di Luanda, and Horoya will take on Kaizer Chiefs. You go look at the groups, Mike, and you got to say to yourself that Simba sealing top spot, that is certainly a feather in their cap, and Al Ahly will still want to play for pride tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. It's about Al Ahly trying to show that they are the big boys in African football, that they are the defending champions. Simba has surprised all and sundry. We all thought that they were getting into the group stages to make up the numbers, that they would struggle to make up the knockout stages, but they've literally just breezed through the group stage here. They beat Al Ahly in that game that they played in Tanzania. They've won 4 games out of 5. They've managed to score 9 goals. They have a measly defense, which has conceded just 1 goal. So they are playing very well. But Pitso Motsimane and his men will want to prove a point and just to play for pride, to make sure that they have a strong finish to the group stages before they get into the quarterfinals.
Simba, of course, surprising all and sundry, winning Group A. And the fact that Simba is winning Group A means that Al Ahly can only finish as runners-up, meaning Mamelodi Sundowns, who finish as Group B winners, they've already sealed that. It could serve up a potential blockbuster encounter between Pitso Mosimane's Al Ahly versus the 3 wise men of Mamelodi Sundowns. Now that will certainly be an interesting matchup. Let's see how this one goes as the last match days of the Champions League group stages wrap up tonight and tomorrow. We have wrapped up. We'll be back on Monday. Catch us then. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.